video you're about to watch is a live build that I did with my buddy Ken last week. He told me recently that he really needed to build an internal CRM to help him with all of his clients, and that at the moment he's cobbling together a bunch of tools. And I was like, okay, I owe you, so let's jump on a call and we'll try and build it in real time. And that's exactly what we did. At the beginning of the video, he explains exactly what he needs. And then we go through bit by bit, building all of the functionality. It's me building and it's him like asking questions and me explaining things. So I figured I would put it on here because it might be useful for anyone else who wants to build a similar thing. Now the build was done using my Bullet Launch boilerplate, which is a bubble SaaS boilerplate, which helps you to essentially start your SaaS project with like the first 100 hours of features done for you. So obviously we had a big head start thanks to that. But even so, I think we were able to accomplish a huge amount in the first 2 hours. So I'm just going to show you what we actually built. So as you can see, there is like the sign up and login page. This is already done for you in Bullet Launch. But when you log into the app, we were able to create these custom interfaces. So there's one here which is for his clients. He has the ability here to add a new client. He can edit clients if he wants to. He can also delete clients. Then he can create tasks, and he can view his tasks either in a list view or a calendar view. He can also filter the tasks in both views. And of course he can create new tasks, which he can then assign to clients. It also has a Kanban view, so with this he's able to see all the tasks that are in different statuses. He can drag them between the different statuses and that will update the status on the task. As you can see here, I dragged get website done into a different column and it changed the status. He can also copy a link, a unique link for each client, which he can then, if I log out here, he can give that link to his client and they will be able to see a read-only version of their Kanban task list, which enables them to stay updated on the tasks they have outstanding. So all of that took us under 2 hours. Obviously there are more things to add to it, but there's also a load of stuff I didn't show you which comes out of the box with Bullet Launch, like the ability to turn it into a full multi-tenanted SaaS with billing, account management, team management, and things like that. So now you've seen what we built, we're going to dive into the full video of how it was built. Okay, let's take it from the top. Ken, tell me, what do you want to build?
Well, Kieran, here's what I would like to build. Just kidding.
You've
Um,
changed. You've changed.
so,
Unusable footage already.
okay. So I'd like to build a personal CRM for my agency. I need to record like a typical CRM. My clients, which are well over 500 at this point, um, their information, how to contact them, websites, all that typical kind of stuff. Otherwise, I'm searching an email constantly and it's not efficient. Those clients, I want to record tasks into your new Kanban view and tasks within each of those clients, and then have some kind of idea of what's in progress, what's done, what's completed, what's not, and then have a calendar that I can share with the client what's been done, what needs to be done, what's still being in progress, that kind of thing. Basically, a status update. So I get two, three, four emails a day, every day, asking me how are things, where are we, that kind of stuff. If I had a calendar, all that stuff is taken care of. I can combine a few tools to make that work. I don't want to add new subscriptions and all that. I said, hey, I'm up and coming, trying to be a Bubble developer. Why don't I build this in Bubble myself? So with your template and a little bit of guidance, I think I can build this myself and control everything. I don't have to subscribe to two or three other tools.
Okay, so
So,
you want to build this internal tool, but do you also want to spin it out as your own SaaS for other agencies who have the same problem you do?
yeah, so me first, and once I can get that running, it's basically I can duplicate this whole app. And yes, I can have a registration, a login, all that stuff. Absolutely. And I can take payments and upgrades and, look at the best personal CRMs, the best Kanbans, the best calendars, and take little pieces of all of that and then build it myself in Bubble for clients or for people that want to build into this kind of thing. So it starts as my own internal tool, and then absolutely I could make this a service for somebody else too.
Yeah, cool. The way I would do it would be to build it as if it's going to be a SaaS for other people. Obviously that you don't have to get them on board, but if we do that from the start, then you won't need to clone the app and make changes to it. It will just be ready to go. So you
Mm.
test, develop. When you have been using it for a while and you're really happy with how it's working for you, it will literally be a case of invite a friend to log in and create their account and start using it with their clients, and then it should be ready to go. So that's like actually probably even more or just as simple as building it for yourself. Um,
Okay.
if you're starting with a template. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's a personal need for myself, and then if I'm using it, I'm not a big agency. I'm a one person agency with 500 clients over the past year, and 5.5 years or something like that now. So this is definitely a business and a need that I have. So it's taking care of myself first. But if it works enough, good enough for me, it's got to be able to work for other people too, who don't want to buy into big task management, Asana, HubSpot, those kind of bigger things that are just overwhelming and too big. This is you can do it yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. So let me share my screen. Uh, So what we'll do is I will create the app for you and then I'll transfer it to you once we finish. Now, I don't think we're going to be able to get the whole lot done um today. I mean that would be a very big ask, but we can certainly get a good way and then maybe we'll do another couple of sessions and we should get it to a pretty good point. But
Well,
hopefully
the
yeah,
whole
by
point of this is right is being able to use or buy into your app, your boilerplate, and then build on your own. So if you can help me build the structure of this, I can do all the easier stuff or the beginner stuff, content, app, forms. We can just, if you put it into place, I can kind of finish it off.
yeah.
Um, Workflows are difficult for me still, just don't have enough experience. Um, and then working with your template, I've been more comfortable with it, but which pages, it's not exactly the way you haven't built the template exactly the way I want it. So which pages do I bring in, rip apart, rebuild, customize? That's the fast forward, quick start that your template's good for, rather than building from scratch.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is create a new app and we're going to use the boilerplate as the starting point. What do you want to call this? Given that this is just the name that Bubble is going to use, so you can have any kind of stuff in here.
Savage CRM, Launch Club CRM, agency. Yeah, make it less specific. Agency CRM.
Okay, probably going to tell us that's taken.
Oh, right.
No, it hasn't so far. Um, so I'm gonna activate the free trial
Hmm.
because it gives you 2 weeks to like develop and you get all the features like back-end workflows. If you don't do that, then it's yeah, it's just harder to develop
Limited.
because some stuff is just not going to work.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's let us use agency CRM, which is crazy that no one else has used that name already. And then we're going to skip the application assistant. And so here it's ready to go. So the I don't know, the first thing I would do is like set up the database. So the app, the boilerplate already comes with like a load of data types already set up. You don't need to change any of those unless you want to. But we already know that there's a few kind of things we're going to want, a few data types we're going to want. So one thing is, so you're going to want clients to be able to log in, right? Because they're going to need to log in to look at their personal calendar.
I think if the calendar is public, not they don't have to log in. I think that's just easy for them because they can go to the URL, browse, and then see what's up. They're not doing any tasks. They're not updating anything. So for the agency service SaaS later on, sure, that would be a good idea. But for me, I think it's just a public URL, non-lockdown, basically.
Okay. So yeah, it's worth when you're deciding the database structure, it's worth trying to think about the future, because it's a bit of a pain to change things down the line. It's still a lot easier in Bubble than it would be in most other systems, but um, like we could assume that every client may want to be a user at some point. Like if you had some functionality where they are, I don't know, paying you through this system and you may want them to have to log in to do that, or providing you with any sensitive information. So we could just assume that they might want to be a user, but they don't necessarily need to ever log in. Or we could make the assumption they're never going to be a user, which is simpler, because then you'd just be storing the client details just like any data. They wouldn't need a user account or anything like that. So
Mhm.
it's up to you.
I think for this app and this purpose right now, I'm the only one that would log in, and the client would just look at the calendar itself, not the Kanban, not the entry form, anything like that. So let's keep it simple and quick.
Cool. Okay, so we're going to create a new data type called client, and we're going to make it private by default. Now, tell me what fields you want to store about your client, or if there's a long list, just tell me like the top three.
Yeah. Contact name, company name,
So contact name, text, company name, text.
URL. That should be enough for now.
And like email address, I would imagine.
Email, right. Email, phone. Yeah, enough to get them that I can contact them. Eventually, referred by. That'd be nice. Yeah, let's throw that in there too. Referred by.
Do you want that to be another client or just a text field?
Probably be another client. 100% of my business right now is all referral based, so I don't do any kind of outreach or marketing. It's all past clients that refer me to new clients.
Okay, so assuming that everyone's going to be referred by a client, we can make the referred by, instead of a text field, we can make it a field type client. So you can fill that easily with another client. And that just means you can, instead of like seeing a name in there and then having to look that person up, you could just click through and immediately see the details of the client that referred, their phone number and everything.
Hmm.
Um, okay, so that's good. So we got client. We're also going to want tasks, right?
Correct.
So creating a new type called task, and that's going to be private by default. Oh, sorry, one thing I forgot to do on client that you should do on every data type is we need to add entity, and that is data type entity. And that will enable us to restrict all these clients to your account when you log in. So entity is like a way of
Oh.
dividing your app into or your database into multiple like compartments.
Hmm.
So then as you're going to be the only user logging in initially, there will only be one entity, which will be Ken's entity. If you wanted to invite other team members or virtual assistants to access this data, you could do that and they could be attached to your entity and they could then access these clients' data. But if you decided you wanted to let a friend sign up to your app to try it out, they would have their own entity, so they would never be able to see any of your clients' data, which is obviously very important. So that's
Yeah,
why we put
smart.
an entity on almost every data type unless it's publicly visible.
Hmm.
So for task, I'm going to create that and I'm going to add the entity on here while I remember. Um, task, what else is it going to have? It's going to have title,
Plat
I guess.
your title, description, platform.
What is platform? Is that going to be from a finite list
Reddit.
of things?
Yeah. Yes. A drop down, basically.
Yeah. And are you going to be maintaining that drop down, or do you want clients to be able to add like a new thing to the drop down?
Clients won't. It's just for me to select. But when we open this up to other people, they should be able to add their own easily enough. I don't know what they're gonna, they're not gonna be exactly like me. So, um,
Okay. So
property platform, I guess, works. But yeah, initially it'd be like an option set, so I can have a drop down. But I think it'd be a good idea to add your own. Click here to add your own or something.
okay, so if we think at some point we want people to be able to add these from the front end, it's best to just go with a data type instead of an option set because the main difference is you can't allow users of your app to edit option sets. Only the Bubble
Oh.
developer in the back end can edit an option set. So
Hmm.
there is no problem at all with making a new type that's called platform. And so we can have name a platform here, and it can literally just be that. And then when we go back to task here, when we add in platform, instead of making it a text field, we will make it a platform. And that just means that we'll be able to create the drop down, which will load from this platform data type, and tasks will be linked to a data type for platform rather than just a piece of text or an option set. So, okay, title, description, platform. So deadline or due date,
Due date, sure.
and that's going to be field
Start
type date,
start date.
start date, date. Okay. So do you want to call it due date or end date?
Yeah, start end. Due date makes more sense to the client. Yeah, I think just the way it is fine.
Cool. Um,
Uh, Title,
and
description.
you're going to want a status, right, on the tasks.
Yeah. Yes.
So, the bullet launch template already has a item statuses option set, which just has not started, in progress, pending review, and completed. You can
Mm,
edit the names of these. You can add as many options as you want, but yeah, the easiest way to add a status is just to use this existing option set. So we will do that in this instance. So status, that's going to be OS item statuses. So yeah, anything else you can think of?
I think that's it for tasks.
Cool. So now if we go to the dashboard, so this is like obviously the main place that you are going to be logging into this and making changes. Within the dashboard, there's this thing called main page container, which is this right-hand part over here. And if we expand that, you'll see there's a load of sections which are in here. And they are just there so that when you first open the app and you try it out, you can click around and it feels usable. We don't actually want any of these because these are all the like original templates. We're actually gonna clone these and make our own templates. So first, let's go into the option set here, which controls the dashboard menu. And you can see here it's got down the left-hand side, it's going to have home, create, calendar, rows, images, and stuff. Let's just delete all of the ones that we don't want. So let's get rid of most of these. Let's change the name of some of them. So we're going to want, obviously, clients. And we can change the icon on that to, I think there's one called users. And we're going to want one that's Kanban view.
Table, Kanban, tasks, maybe. All they're really showing is tasks. Something generic.
Yeah.
Got the T.
So,
There you go.
so we could have tasks in a table view, tasks in a Kanban view, and then this task here, we can have it in a calendar view as well. So we'll do the icon in a bit. So yeah, some of these ones down here, like preferences and stuff, these are actually for other menus. So this is for the admin dashboard. The only ones that we're looking at editing are ones that are in the regular dashboard top menu. So there's this app location thing here, which tells you where this is going to show. So we'll start off with these three things, and then obviously it's got chat and support and settings are basically stuff that you can probably leave in there or remove. It's up to you. But if we go back to the dashboard here, we're going to want to delete all of these or most of these things. So I'm just going to delete
I got
colored
a small
grid.
question for you while we're
Yeah.
here. If I leave that stuff in there, or what does the hidden, the closed eyelash, closed eye looking thing, does that just mean that it's like a CSS parameter in there that just hide that whole thing?
Yeah,
Meaning
basically.
it still loads the code for that and the work units are increased and all that?
No, it shouldn't load it shouldn't do any searches or anything if stuff is hidden. It should only load data if something is showing. Um, it does run workflows. If you've got any like on-page load workflows on a hidden element, I'm pretty sure it does still run the workflow. So
So it's a good idea to remove this stuff and not just hide, not add 20 things in there and hide them. Remove the ones that we're not going to use.
yeah, I mean I've designed it so none of them should have on-page load workflows. So hopefully it wouldn't make much difference. But yeah, in general, I'd say it's just easier for you when you're editing to not have these hanging around.
Sure.
So I can delete all that, and maybe I'll delete the home section as well. Uh, and What else? So next we can start by like customizing our tables basically. So the first one we're going to want is for clients. So I'm going to, and I think the best layout for that would be just like classic rows. So I'm going to add a new reusable element, and I always just put a tick to make sure I know I'm using it, and it makes it show at the top of the list. I'm going to call it table clients, and I'm going to clone it from UI table classic rows. And then we just need to basically update this. So this is currently linked up to example data, which is just a load of random stuff I have in the database to enable people
Mhm.
to see what the template looks like. We just need to update this. So the first thing we do is this main repeating group here. This is where all the data is being shown. We're going to change the type of content to be client. And then it's like, okay, this is confusing because you've told me to search for example data. So we just need to change that to client. Uh, and this stuff stays the same. And then I'm just going to copy this expression because there is a conditional here which says when you've switched on filters, which we will come to later, like you want to filter for certain types of client, it does a different search. And this search here is still doing the example data. So we just want to update that to be client as well.
Mhm.
And then Bubble has this amazing issue checker, which is going to guide you through everything you need to change, uh, or everything that's not linked up correctly once you made that change. Because once we've made that change, it will have like a knock-on effect. So it's now saying, okay, you've changed to the data source of this repeating group to be client, but this group within the repeating group is expecting example data. So we just need to update that to be client. But when we do that, it creates more issues. So we just need to go one by one and fix these issues. So the first one is it's saying, okay, in this workflow here, you're trying to set a custom state and you're saying it should be a client, but that doesn't make sense because it should be an example data. So what we want to do is update that custom state. And a custom state is basically a piece of data that you can store temporarily on the page. Custom state is a really bad name for it. It makes it sound more complicated than it is. It's just the same as you would store any piece of data in the database, except you are storing it on the page and it will go away, it will reset to nothing when you reload the page. But it's really useful to have while you're on the page, temporary data. So I always store temporary data on the page itself. So if I click anywhere out here, it'll bring up table clients, the inspector itself. Click on the eye and you'll see the custom states here. And I've got one called selected item, and that is still set to example data. So we're going to change that to client. What that means is just when I click on, or when a user clicks on a specific row in this table, a specific client, that custom state will store which client they've clicked on, and then we use that in various places. So I've updated that. What's next? It's telling me, okay, this is input name. Okay, so this is on the pop-up. So we have a pop-up that we use to create and edit, in this case, clients. And the way the pop-up works is if you clicked on a specific row in the table, a specific client, it knows, because we set that state to say Ken has clicked on this client, when the pop-up shows, it knows that you have selected a client, and so it's trying to show you that client's information. But it's
Mm.
confused here because before that was an example data, so it doesn't know quite what to show in this box. So we're gonna, where it says null, we're gonna click there and we're gonna say, okay, this is like by default, I named it task name. We're gonna call this contact name. And I'm just gonna change this text here to be contact name. And so now it's like, okay, this is all making sense now. Everything is now switching over from example data to client. and then click on the next one here. Okay, so this is when you click on this button here to either create a new client or update the client you clicked on, and it runs this workflow. We can see here it's trying to create a new example data, but we want it to create a new client. So I change that to client. And then here in the next step, it is saying, okay, so this is like a bubble technique, which I explain in quite a lot of detail in some of the videos in the docs. I won't go into too much detail here, but basically it's just a way of, if you want to have a single pop-up where you can both create and update something, this is like the easiest way of doing it, because otherwise you end up with having like all the fields here and all the fields here, and every time you want to make a change you have to do it in both of them, and it's just annoying. So a bubble kind of hack or tip is to do one workflow where you create the new thing, but only if someone has, like the user hasn't already selected something, and then the next one where you are going to actually make changes to that thing. So yeah, the reason we do this is just so we don't have to do the same thing twice, which is really annoying if you've got like 100 fields that you're trying to update. Um, so it's complaining now because it's saying, okay, you've told me we're not doing example data now, we're updating a client, but you haven't told me what field is going to be set with input names value. So I'm going to put contact name, and then it's like, okay, it's happy. These three, is just because I deleted the home option, which actually I don't normally do. So I'm going to choose clients. So this is just like, if the tab is loaded or if the page is loaded and I haven't specified in the URL which tab it should go to, this is like saying, okay, what's the default tab? So that is done. So if we go back to table clients, so
That's the left nav.
yeah, exactly. Because I deleted the home one, which is typically the default one that it will go to
Mm-hmm.
if nothing's been loaded. Um, so now we've done that, we need to decide like what do we actually want to show about the clients in this table. So we could have client name, uh, company name, and then we don't have a status for our clients, but if you want to add a new column, you can just copy. You just need to copy a heading and copy one of the like body text. So
Dude,
what do you want? Website or
website,
Email?
email works. Website, I don't think I'd have to look that up in a table. Eventually, how much they've paid me, that's always important.
Yeah.
That's a later on thing through Stripe and all that, but
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, we can add that later because that will probably, you may not want to store that just as a number on the client. You might want to, or you might do, it depends. Yeah, if you're getting it from Stripe, you might want it to be like a live API call that goes off to Stripe. And then I'm
how
gonna,
about status active or inactive?
okay. So if we go back to data and go to, right, we'll create a new option set, which is OS-client statuses. And we will make one that's active and one that's inactive. And then we'll go back to client and we'll add a field called status. And that will be of type OS client statuses. And then we can go here. Well, now we need to just specify what all this dynamic data is. So client name, I'm going to insert dynamic data, and that is going to be GR master. So I just search for the word master and get this GR master single item. The reason for that is you could also do, usually probably you do parent groups client,
Mm.
and that should work fine. But Bubble has this annoying thing where like obviously we're inside the cell of a repeating group here, so you should be able to just say current cells client, but you can't do that for some reason in apart from in the group that's directly inside. So just one level down from the outer repeating group itself. In this one, I can say current cells client, and it's going to get the current cells client. But anything within that, I can only say parent groups client. I can't say current cells client, and it's fine if you've only got like two
One
levels
level.
here. But if you
Yeah.
have loads of groups within it, then anytime you want to update the data type, you have to go through every group and update parent groups what data type it is, and it just gets annoying. So what I always do is I have this one group called which I call master, and everything within the repeating group just refers to the client that master group has got.
Mhm.
So I'm going to say master group master single items clients contact name, and then I'm going to right click and copy that expression, and I'm going to insert and paste that expression here, but I'm going to update contact name to be company name. And then for this one, I'm going to insert, right click, paste expression, and that's going to be email address. And status is going to be insert, right click, paste expression. That's going to be status. And then it's going to be, because status is an option set, it's going to be status is display. So that'll be active or inactive. So that's all done. So this table will just work. The next thing we want to do is to enable you to create clients. So we already saw this pop up here, and we've already kind of started on it. But any information when you create a new client, this is just going to be the form where you can create the information. So all of these are just like placeholders which we can delete. So we don't need that. Probably don't need that. We can move this up. So this is going to be obviously client description. So let's set the initial content of this. This is for when you're editing to be table clients, selected items. Wait, do we have description for clients? No, we don't. That was for task.
Title.
Okay,
Just
so
client company name.
yeah, okay, so I'm going to copy and paste contact name, change this to company name, change contact name to company name, uh, get rid of this. And what else? We're going to want email address. So
Email.
email,
URL.
email address, URL. And the important thing is also to rename all of these inputs so that we can find them in a minute. So input URL, input email, input company name, input client name, and then you can change the placeholder, or let's just get rid of the placeholders. And also for the email one, we can change the content format to be email, and that will just make sure that it is an email. And then here we can change the status using this drop down. So we've got drop down here. We want it to be
Yep.
dynamic choices, and it's going to be OS client statuses. We want it to show all OS client statuses, and we want it to show the display for that. So that will be active or inactive, but we'll give it a default value of table clients, selected items status. And we can say that should not be empty as well. So if you select this
Mhm.
input should not be empty, it just means you will not be able to click this button until all of those things have data in them. And then the next thing we want to do is if you click this button, what do we want to happen? So we edit the workflow. So we want to create a new client only when the selected item custom state is empty. So that means you're looking at the table and you've clicked the button that we have at the top, which is create new. You haven't clicked on a client and want to edit it. So we know that because the custom state is empty. So if it creates a new client, then this like rather convoluted expression here basically says either change the client we made in step 2, or if we didn't make a client in step 2, update the client that's stored in that custom state. And let's add all the fields. So company name is going to be input company names value. Email is going to be input emails value. Entity is going to be current users entity. So that's a really important one, because if you don't set that, you probably won't be able to see any of the clients you're creating, because it's going to be filtering on the server for your entity. Phone, we haven't got a field for that at the moment, but you can add that. That can be one of the things that you can add later on.
Later. Yep.
Referred by, we don't have that yet. Status is going to be input DD's value, because I didn't rename that drop down, but I'll just rename it now. Status. And then URL is going to be input URL's value. And then it's going to
When
show.
I'm
Sorry, go ahead.
when I'm first talking to a client, this is when I'd be filling out the client form on the front end. Having referred by would be important at that point.
Okay.
That's probably the only time we'll talk about it too. So that's
Okay.
important.
So let's do you want to drop down to select the client who's referred them? I guess you do, or a search box.
Search. Well, can you do a drop down search box would be best.
Okay. So just gonna pull in let me see if I don't know if I've got a search box. So I'm just
Right
going
there,
to
search input.
copy the drop down, and I'm going to use the bubbles like default search box. Just going to put there. Oh, and I don't have, never used a search box, so I haven't got the bullet launch styling in here, but that's fine. Let's just copy the styling from here. So
Can't you copy special, paste special for the styling?
you can, but I'm pretty sure you can't do it between two different element types. Yeah, I don't think that. No, that didn't work. Yeah, because search box it sees as being like completely different from a drop down. So
Yep.
you can't. You could do it between two drop downs. Um, and then like 0, 2, 4. And then this is height 44. Right, and then okay, so this is a search box. So we're going to say search box referred by. I'll change this to referred by. And here you can define the list that it's going to search when you start typing in there. So we are going to do a search for clients, and we want to constrain it so that entity equals current users entity.
Ah,
And the field we want to search is probably contact name.
name.
Yeah. And then something doesn't look right. I need some padding in here. So 10, 10, 14, 14. That's better. Right. And then default value, we will have table clients, selected items, referred by. And I won't tick this input should not be empty because this one is optional because they might not have been referred by anyone. And then I'll just go
Right.
back to the workflow here. And in this one, we're going to say referred by equals search box, referred by's value. And then toast is like a little notification to say what
Mhm.
just happened. This is another kind of bubble technique. So you basically make a yes no statement. So we're saying result of step 2 is not, if the result of step 2 is not empty, formatting for yes, formatting for no. So if it's not empty, that means we created a new client. So I'm just going to change the wording here to client created. And if it is empty, we didn't create a new client. So we updated one. So client updated. And then, yeah, so that should, fingers crossed, that should just work. So in order to test that out, we need to go back to our dashboard and we are going to, so just select the main page container, go down here, select table clients that we just created. I'm just going to drop it in there and we are going to go into layout and make it so it's not visible on page load and it collapses when it's not visible because we don't want it to be an empty space that we can't see, where we can't see anything. And then I'm just going to go to one of these other ones and copy the conditional from here, which says when get tab from the page URL is settings, then this element is visible. So I'm going to paste that whole condition onto this one and say when get tab from page URL is clients, then this element is visible. And okay, so then let's preview this. So the first thing it does, we try to preview in the dashboard. It
Not
kicks
one
us
time.
out of there because we're not signed in. So we need
Mhm.
to first create a new account. So um, have you got an email address you want to use?
Ken Savage at Gmail.
Okay, I'm gonna make the password 123123 just for the sake of this, but you
Sure.
can change it later on. Okay, so this is all like, yeah, you can update the onboarding there.
Yep.
The important
Registry.
thing here is that we can see we've got our clients table. We should be able to create a new client. So and then here, well, there's not going to be anything there, so there's no point in typing there. I click create. Okay, so we have our first client. Then we should be able to edit this client.
Nice.
Okay, so that's all working. Um,
Mhm.
the next thing we want to do is, well, filtering. So the only thing it really makes, so your search should already work. So test two. Hmm.
Client.
So if I type in the whole email, it finds that client.
Yeah.
The filtering, it only really makes sense to filter by status at the moment, because all of these things are just kind of plain text.
Yeah, no Kanban.
So to do that, we can, so if we go back to edit this and we view the filters here, I'll just delete that one and we'll have this status drop down, but we're going to make it client statuses, and it's going to be all OS client statuses. And then, so we just need to update the repeating group. If you remember, we had a conditional here. So I'm just going to change the name of this to clients. So we had a conditional here that if table clients filters on is yes, so this is just another custom state, and it changes to yes when you click apply, and it changes to no when you click clear. Then it's going to update the data source for the entire table. So we want to add into here, if they turn the filters on, then we want the status to equal drop down filters statuses value. So then if we go back here, well, let's create another client. So we'll make this one active. And here we could say referred by example client edited.
Mhm.
And then we should be able to filter active, inactive. Okay, so the filters work.
Good.
And yeah, subtab 1, subtab 2, we can get rid of that because you don't have any subtabs. So that is only showing because in the option sets we have these subtabs. Oh well, actually no, it's on the all menu tabs, clients. We've got subtabs in this list here. I'm just going to delete those. Okay, so now you've got your clients here, and then let's see if the delete works. Okay, so delete works as well.
Good.
So that's the clients done. The next thing is you want to be able to create tasks and assign them to a calendar. So we are going to add a new reusable element, table tasks, and we can clone that from the UI table calendar.
The reason why you put the icon in the name is just for sorting reasons.
Yeah,
Okay.
because if you look down this list here, all the one with the
Bless.
ticks, like they also show near the top, which is handy.
Mhm.
And these ones are, so that these are where I've taken one of these and cloned them, and I'm actually using it within the app. All the ones down here, for the most part, are just like the originals ready for cloning. They're not actually being
Yep.
used in the app. I mean, a couple of them are like, well, the headers and stuff. But yeah, this is where I've cloned one of these and I'm actually using it within the app. So
Okay.
task. So this is going to be almost exactly the same as what we just did, except the only difference here is there is a list view and a calendar view. So we have to do just slightly more work. But the first thing we'll do is we'll update the repeating group as before. So this time it's going to be task, and we're going to search for tasks. And update this filters on as well.
Yes.
Then it's saying, okay, there's an issue. So same as before, the master group has got the wrong data type. And then it's saying, okay, got to fix all these things. So the first thing is that custom state that we use to remember which has been clicked on. Going to update that to task. Then it's saying, okay, you're trying to create a new example data, but you're saying selected item is task. So we change that to task as well. Then here, saying, so this is getting confused because the calendar has the wrong data type. So we're going to go down to the calendar here, and this is example data as well. So we're going to change that to task, and this is going to be search for tasks. And then it's saying, okay, what should I show? I'm going to say current events title. And it's also probably getting an error here, just as before. So basically everywhere it says example data, it's just going to get confused.
Sure.
So now it's all set up for tasks. So here next we can say what we want to show about the task. So let's say title, and this can be master tasks title, and this can be description. Or do you want to show description here or client?
Client would be better.
Yeah, client. So this is going to be master tasks platform. Wait, did we not put client on the task? It's a bit silly. Right. Yeah, so obviously you're going to want to be able to assign a task to a client.
To a client. Mhm.
So the tasks client, and then client's company name. Status, that's going to be status is display. So the tasks status, and then I guess you're going to want start date and end date.
Yes.
So I'm
Well,
just going to tasks, start date, and then we can format that as something a bit more readable than what it would give us by default. And by the way, if you don't like the way this all looks, so you want to see more realistically, you can just type in here like anything, and it will just show that as like the example text
ah,
here. That doesn't affect
right.
anything on the front end. That's purely for just looking at the editor and how it looks. So we
Mhm.
could edit this as well, like that. And then end date. So just copy that. Change start date to, or due date. Okay. And then on this calendar, so we're going to do a search for tasks here. Start time field will be the start date. End time field will be the due date. Or you could, if you wanted it to just show the due date, you could just say, I think you could just have the start time field and leave this end time as blank. So what would you prefer? Do
Blank.
you want to
Just
show
the due date, I think,
just
is
the
all
due
that's
date?
needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, next we want to do the pop-up for creating a task. So
Mhm.
already got tasks title here. We also want task description. We want client, and you probably want a search box here for the client again. So I'm just going to go back to
Yeah.
table clients to this pop-up and copy this
Copy.
search box. Um, and then we can have status here. And then here we can have start date, due date. So so these inputs, you can also have the content format as date. And then we just need to set the initial content for all of these for when you're editing. So this is going to be initial content. There's going to be selected items description. Selected items clients, company name. Oh wait, no, contact name. Do you want contact name or company name?
Contact.
Right, client's
Oh,
contact.
sorry. This is creating a task.
Yeah, and
Company
assigning it
name
to a
makes sense.
client.
Mhm.
Company name.
Yep.
Okay. Why is that causing an issue? Default value should be client. Okay. Okay, and then status is going to be item statuses, all item statuses, current options, display, and the default value is going to be the existing task status, and then this is going to be
Can that start date just pre-fill in the current date?
um yeah. So we could have a
Because
conditional which
I would never say start yesterday or start Friday kind of thing. It
so
would
we could
always be
have a
today because I'm
conditional
creating the
here
task.
that says when table tasks selected items or selected item is empty, so we're creating a new one, then the initial content should be current date time.
Mm.
And then due date is going to be due date. And then just rename these inputs. So okay, and then we need to, is that everything for the task?
Yeah, that's everything.
So then we'll update the workflow. So create a new task, make changes to task. So add all of these. So this is going to be search box, clients, value, multi-line task descriptions, value, input task due dates value. So that's why it's like important to name everything so you know what you're looking
Hmm.
for.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't do a platform one. So copy status because we want a drop down. The drop down is going to be platforms. Because it's not an option set, we have to do a search in the database. We're going to do a search for platforms. And then we'll show the current options name, and the default is going to be table task selected items platform. Let's rename this to input DD platform. So platform is going to be input DD platform, and you'll see how Bubble grays out all the ones that don't have the right data type to match what you're doing here. So it kind of tries to guide you through as best it can. Input task start dates value, and then status is drop down task statuses value. And then can update this to say task created, task updated. So we should now be able to create and update tasks. Well, let's try it out. So we'll go back to the dashboard and we'll grab our table tasks and just drop it in here, and then make it not visible on page load and collapse when hidden. And then we'll just go here and copy the conditional from our table clients and paste it here. And we'll change that to tasks.
And the reason why you do conditions is to stay on the same page URL and not different pages.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you load, every time you load a page, it's a bit slower than just having hiding and showing elements. So for a dashboard, you really want to have a single page app, at least for the dashboard, with everything hidden and then showing, and then it doesn't have to do a reload every time, and it's so much quicker.
Load everything that, yeah, gotcha. And
It
then
just means you
as
can
you
like
click
click
in the
between stuff
navigation,
like this. Yeah.
makes sense. Okay.
So I've gone here. It looks weird. I think it's because we have not told it what to show. So let's go back here. So yeah, so I think the problem is we are, so in our tasks here, we want to add some sub tabs, and we want it to be calendar and list, or maybe we want it to be list and then calendar, and we want it to default to, let's say, list. Okay, so now we've got a list in our calendar. So let's add a new task. So post on launch on product hunt. Actually, before we do that, let's just go in the database and add a couple of platforms. So we can do this manually in the database for now.
Yeah, there's only a few.
Um, so I need to reload that. Right, okay, why is it not showing? Search for platforms. Okay, it's probably because platforms, we currently have it set to, it's only visible to the person who created it. But if you create stuff in the database, it says created by app admin, but currently we're not logged in as app admin, we're logged in as a user. So
Me.
For
Yeah.
now, we can just make this visible to everyone.
Oh, yeah.
But then later on, you can remove that if you want people to only be able to see the platforms they've created.
Mhm.
So create new. Okay, and is that a, oh, I changed the name. Okay, sensitive.
Example?
Sorry.
Wasn't client's name an example something?
Oh, I'm searching by, oh yeah, in this one I'm searching by company name. So this will be company 2. So launch. We can say not started. Product hunt. Start date is today. Due date is
Small. Yeah.
okay. So then if we go here, we can see that there. If you click on it, we haven't yet decided what is going to happen when you click on it in the calendar. We could just make it so it shows the same edit thing, but if
Yeah.
we go here and click on this, we should be able to edit. Well,
Mhm.
not that. In progress. Uh, yeah, we can't see the description, but yeah, so so you can edit and create, and then in terms of filters, I guess you want to filter on the status. What other filters you might want? A date filter as well.
Tasks. Client.
Client, yep.
So I can look on all those. Date. Due date, I should say.
Okay, so let's have a look at the um, filters. So client, do you want drop down or search box? Search box probably.
Search. Yeah, search
Yeah.
is better.
So I'm just going to
These will get big.
copy the search box from here. And I'm going to paste it in here. So I'm going to rename that search box client filters so we know that this is the one in the filters.
Mhm.
Um, I'll change that to company name. Status is going to be, yeah, that's already set up. And then due date, you're going to want it to be like after a certain date or something like that. Like,
Just to see what a list of in progress or active tasks, what the
okay.
due dates are. Like a list of what I need to do them on.
Um,
Due date's a specific date though.
yeah, so
Yeah, that's okay. So
we
due
got
tomorrow.
status, so you can see the in progress ones. But do you also want
Yeah.
to see
Uh,
some kind of date thing?
no. So I don't think anything. I don't think I'd ever search on due date or start date. It's basically in progress or not or completed.
Okay, cool. So that's just
Yeah.
status. Um, so yeah, if you get like weird widths like this, just
Mm,
um look on each of them and see what they have in terms of the parameters here, and then you basically want to make
nice.
them match each other. So I'm just going to put in 120 and 300 here. and that should make them equal in size. And then so then we just need to update the repeating group. So change this RG to tasks. So when the filters are on, we want to have the client equals search box client filters value and status equals drop down filters status value. And it's really important to have this box ticked because this means that if only one of those has a value in it, it will ignore the other one. But if you didn't have that ticked and you chose status in progress, but you left that blank, it would be looking for tasks where the company is blank. And obviously you wouldn't find any, or you shouldn't find any.
Sure. Sure.
So create a new. And if you wanted a different UI for this date selector, you can we can replace this with a different kind of input. They have a date picker as well.
Like a
Let me just add
plugin.
a new client. And then let me edit this one so it's new company. Wait, why did that update that? Oh, okay. Okay, because we copied this from the pop-up, it still has the default value to be whatever is selected. So I'm just going to remove that. So now we should be able to filter by new company, and then also filter by, oh, they're both in progress.
Beautiful.
And then yeah, filter by status. And then, oh yeah, we need to make that same update in the calendar. So I'm just going to copy the search from the conditional on this list view, and I'm going to paste that. Oh, what? No. Why did it do that? Oh, what's happened? Must have clicked the wrong thing. Okay, paste that in here. Okay, so now we should be able to filter these. Okay, so it only shows the ones that are pending review. We could also, in the calendar, should also be able to add in current events, clients, company name. Yeah, okay, so yeah, at least you can see a bit of the company name. I'm not quite sure how to
Sure.
make that scrollable.
Yes.
Um, and then yeah, so that's pretty much done. And then so for the Kanban, let's make a new oh, So so there's two types of Kanban. One of them you can just drag between columns. So you could see all
Hmm.
the tasks within, and you can filter by clients, but they'll just be in the column in any order you choose. So like ordered by name of task or due date or whatever. The
Hmm.
2D version, you can drag and reorder them within a column, um, but you would need to have a field on the tasks which specifies what order they're in. And you need to figure out how you want that to be relevant, like what happens when you reorder.
Yeah, I think 1D is fine.
Cool. So the way the Kanban works is just got two repeating groups. One of them, the first one, creates the columns, and that is just based off of um, item statuses in our case, which is what we want for the tasks. But you could change it to any kind of status or any kind of like categories or whatever, where you're going to want to drag things between. So that's RG status columns. And then if we expand that, within that, there is an RG Kanban, which is currently showing example data. But this is the one we want to update to show tasks. And the data source is going to be search for task. And we just have to update to make sure it knows that the status of that task should be equal to what is it? Drop area item statuses, item status. Okay, so that's essentially the same as the group, the master group, but it's called drop area in the
Sure.
Kanban. Maybe I should rename that. So I'm just going to copy this expression and paste it over here in the filters. We'll do the filters in a bit. And then go through the issues. So, okay, it's saying what do you want to sort the tasks by? So should we have
Due,
due
due date.
date? Yeah. So you want the highest date, which would be the latest one, the furthest at the top, or you want the nearest date,
The
the lowest
the
date?
most recent due date at the top.
Yeah, so that would be descending no. So that should be fine. That always does my head in that calculation. Figuring
Yeah,
out
me too.
yeah. And okay, so drag and drop group is should be task. Master data should be task. So now it's saying, what do you want to show in here? So I had an image in my example, but we don't have images. So I'm going to delete that. So we can have master data's tasks title. Then here we can have master data's tasks
Description.
clients company name. Um,
Right.
and then here we can have master data's tasks due date formatted as and then yeah, get rid of this. So we can have any other data. Is there any other data you'd like to see in here? So maybe you want task description. That's going to make it a bit lengthy, but we can just limit it to like 2 lines. Or do you want the
If you
platform?
can, not platform. I think description is the only other thing.
Yeah. Okay, so
Can you click on it, or is it just draggable?
we can make it clickable.
Just to see more of the description.
Okay. So
It's
if you
like,
want to get Bubble to automatically cut stuff off at a certain point, we can just give it a fixed height of, say, 88
okay.
pixels. Um, oh, sorry, maximum height. And then we could say when this text is pressed, max height is infinite. So when you click on the text, it should show you the full
Mm,
description.
should open up. Yeah, good.
Okay, so now it's saying, okay, we've got this drop area, which is called item statuses, which is like basically the entire column is one big drop area. So you can drag a task over a column and just drop it, but then it triggers a workflow when you do that. And it's saying, okay, what do you want us to do? What do you want to do when that happens? So firstly, the type of thing is going to be task, and we want it to make changes to a task, and we want it to change the task status to this drop area's status. Um, okay, and do you want to be able to edit and update tasks from this view?
No, I think you go back to tasks so we can get rid of those buttons, right?
Yeah, it's up to you. We could basically just duplicate that whole functionality, like bring the pop-up over here with all the
I
workflows.
like having
Yeah,
separate, this is the Kanban, the other is the task list table. I'd
yeah.
rather go back.
Okay, so
Simplicity.
get rid of the create new. Um, we could have it so, well, let's just have a look at this first.
Hmm.
Oh, let's do the filters. So you want to filter by client again, yeah? That's probably the most important one. You don't
Client,
need status. So if we go back to
status
our
no.
table tasks,
Hmm.
company name. So now we just need to update the repeating group. Change the name of this to tasks. So when the filter is on, we want the client to be equal to search box client filters value. So let's go to the dashboard now and get the Kanban tasks and drop it here and make it not visible on page load, collapse when hidden, copy condition from one of the other ones, paste it on here and change that to Kanban. Okay, so launch on Reddit, company 2, and clear that. So that works. And then, so launch on Reddit should now be not started. So we go here and it has updated correctly.
Nice. So moving it on the Kanban changes the states in the task.
Yeah, it just changes the status.
State right. Yes. Okay. Not started, in progress, pending review. Could if we to edit these columns, I would just edit the option set, correct?
Yeah, the item OS item statuses. Uh, OS. So we can change this to OS task statuses. So you can change these. You can also each one has a hex code. So like a
Oh,
color.
color. Yeah.
So in like the tasks table, these ones I designed it so you could have the font color is dynamic. So it's um group masters tasks statuses hex code, and then copy that. The background color dynamic as well,
Hmm.
hex code, and then if you do append 10, that gives it an opacity of 10. So you can do any number in here. Uh,
Sure.
so then if we go back here, you can have different colors for your statuses, which is cool.
Super smart.
And you can edit those hex codes to whatever you want. And then I don't know if you in the calendar view. So yeah, you can make the event color dynamic as well. So you could have the event color different based on the status of the event of that task. So if I do,
Status in progress.
yeah, so I could do where
What
was
would
it?
happen if there was multiple, or what happens when there's multiple tasks in one day? Do they just stack on top of each other?
Yeah, they'll just be shown like one above each other.
Okay.
I'll use a dynamic color for each event. Uh, okay, so you can set a dynamic color for each event, but you would need to store that within the task itself.
It's nice to have.
Or I'm just wondering why I can't get current events. Okay, maybe it doesn't seem like you can access that. Like you have an option to hide excess events behind a more button. It doesn't seem like you have the ability to set the color based on the task status. I'm not sure why.
Mhm.
But yeah, this is just using the Bubble, like the calendar plugin that's made by Bubble.
Mhm.
So it's not amazing. There are like way better calendar plugins, but they're just obviously a bit more
Works.
complicated.
Yeah, it works well. What? How about week and day? If you click over there on the right side. Cool.
So yeah, they're all going to
Nice.
be, because with the date field, we were only setting the date, they're all going to be set at like 12 a.m. So you
Mhm.
could change that to have date and time, and then it will,
Yeah, definitely don't need that, but I know what you
yeah,
mean.
and then it's got a day view. Uh, so
One day. Huge progress. So easy to build.
yeah, we've done well.
Yeah.
That was actually quicker than I thought. What's a good icon for tasks? Because they are
Like
hero
a
icons,
pencil, a hand, a pencil and a hand kind of thing. Or
or
hand.
like a list.
Anything with a hand. List, yeah, that's a better idea. Document,
Or I could have the calendar like this because it's
that
got the
works for
calendar
me.
view, or like clipboard
Yeah.
document list.
Oh, the
So
one with the check mark in it looks good.
so just copy that and then um in the option set uh or menu tabs.
Oh, there.
All right, we didn't test to see if
Hmm.
right, so we need to set a maximum width on there.
It's 300 because that's good for mobile.
Yeah. Um, but I gave it, oh, let's say 100%. That's not what we want. This is one of those things where I waste like an hour trying to figure.
Yep. Trial and error.
Yeah. No, it doesn't show it. Okay. So you click on there, it shows the rest. I have to like hold it down.
When you let go, it goes back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one option. The other option would be to have like a
Pop
custom
up to read it.
state, or you can, yeah, you can have a custom state on here that just remembers whether you've shown it or hidden it,
Mhm.
showed it or hidden it. Um, and then it would just be a click each way. Yeah, it's up to you.
That looks good just the way it is.
And then in terms of, so what's the, you wanted to be able to send, what do you want to show to the client?
So if the client is, example, be able to copy a URL and give them the URL so they can view a calendar. They can just see the status of everything.
So like this kind of calendar
Yeah, I mean, I think
or
that's
a
enough.
Kanban view, but the one that they can't edit?
Kanban that they can't edit would be optimal because when they can see not started, in progress, completed kind of thing. Where on
Yeah,
the calendar you can't see that.
yeah, okay. Um,
Call it public client view or something.
yeah. So Let's have a think. So for that, you would want a new page because you don't want to be sending them to the dashboard because it already has loads of stuff built in to prevent non-logged in users from seeing it. So
They're going to be logged in, right?
if
New
we
page,
like view or client, um,
client view. Yeah.
yeah, so let's just call it client. We can, so the first thing you want to do with a new page is Bubble, currently at least, always gives you a fixed container layout. You want to change it to one of these other ones. So we can just do
Oh,
column, and I usually have 1400 as the default width. So we can give this page itself a type of content. So we could set this as a client. So that way a client would basically go to your app slash client slash their own client unique ID, and it would load. The page would then know what client it's supposed to be looking at. Otherwise, there are loads of ways you can do it. It would basically all be down to like the URL and what information you're sending through in the URL. So you could just generate a really long 64 character random
ID.
code that
Mm.
just is in the URL, is in the link you send them, and when they click on it, it can be like time limited, so it's only valid for the next 20 minutes, and then after that it expires. Uh, Using the client's unique ID is probably not the most secure thing because it never changes for one client. So if that link got shared, you wouldn't be able to update that.
Right.
So probably the best thing would be a combination of the unique ID plus some kind of like token which you've generated, which it then gets checked by your app to make sure they're allowed to see that page, and then you can revoke that token and update it. But for now, we can just make it so it's the client. It's just a unique ID. Um, so we could drop in our Kanban here. Um, let's put it within a group that at least has some
Dimensions.
like padding. And then what we can do is we can right click and detach this reusable element. So it's now no longer using the Kanban that we've already created. It's now just dropped the whole everything onto this page, and we can now we can just get rid of all the functionality basically.
So it's basically just readable. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Does it? It's not. Nothing's draggable anymore.
Well, currently it is, but we can, yeah, we can get rid of that. So like, if we get rid of this workflow here, then they can still drag it, but they won't be able to drop it anywhere. But we can also,
Mhm.
we go to, can we set this to be disabled? So this drag drop here. So disable the ability to drag. Whoa, oops. Disable the ability to drag. Okay. Um, and then we just want to change the source of this where it's searching for tasks. We want it to have client equals get data from page URL. Um, Wait, no, is that right? No, that's wrong. Uh, that's what we would do if we had like a code. We actually want client equals current pages client. And do we want to give them filters or
I
no?
don't
Because
think so.
the
There's
only
not going to be a
filter we
lot
had
of
was
tasks.
client.
Yeah.
So deleting filters, delete that. Let's see what these issues are. Button filters, delete that.
No button, no filters, no search.
Um,
The header at the top. Oh, right.
yeah, do you want a header? We could have
If it's draggable.
we could have this as being current pages, clients, company names,
Tasks.
tasks. Um,
We put logo.
Client logo or
Yeah,
like your logo.
yeah, my logo, like whatever the header is on the dashboard.
Yeah,
My
so
logo
probably
is on the
best to
right.
just if we just copy the marketing site header. So
Just public.
then we just need to add 80 margin, so that's below the header. And
Oh, okay.
so the other thing we need to do is like the privacy at the moment on the tasks
It's wide open, right?
is wide open. Well, no, it's shut down, so only the task creator can see it. So we want to make it basically visible to the public and find in searches, unless we build in some other security feature like the um, code thing, like a token.
I don't, I mean, there's nothing they can do with it. They can just look at the view of that Kanban, and that's it. Otherwise, the dashboard, the task list, and all that other stuff is you got to be logged in. I'm okay with it just being the way it is. There's nothing you can do. You
And
just
we'd
look at it and say,
also need to make it so clients can be found in searches because and the company name is visible to everyone so it can show the company name at the top. And then we want to make it so you can have a way of getting the URL for each of your clients. So here we can have um, we can make a
share
new
this.
column here,
Ooh, I like how you think it.
share URL,
Mm.
and that is going to be so that's going to be website home URL, and then that comes with a slash at the end, slash client, slash um, master, so the current sales client's unique ID. And we could make it so if you click on that, copy to clipboard, and I'm just going to recreate what I just did. Website home URL, client slash. unique ID. There's bound to be something we've forgotten here. So yeah, it doesn't look very pretty, but click on there and then okay, so company to tasks. So that is yeah, that's
Yes.
working. I can click on there and see that, but I can't drag it or anything like that. We can make it so
Search,
so the search, let's see.
nothing should show, right?
Yeah, they can search within the tasks on this page. But we can get rid of the search if you want, but they can search within the tasks on this page. We can also make it so it's not full width if you want.
Yeah, constrain it to the width of the header.
So
Beautiful. Now, can
but yeah,
you log out of this?
so if I log out, yeah,
Good.
it's still working. It's getting the data, it's getting the company name.
Click.
So it wouldn't be hard to
That's it.
make it wouldn't be hard to make the like a bit more secure so that you can basically yeah, you can make a time limited token that you send to them or it doesn't have to be time limited, but one that you can revoke if they say I think other people have got this. Um
They churn.
you
They're,
you could
they're
you could have it so
inactive
that
as a
they have
client.
to type in like their email address or something before it shows them anything or like a password.
I don't, I don't think I need it, but in the future, for sure, that would be a good idea. When I create this as a SaaS, yes, maybe hide those sign up and login buttons
Yeah.
just to not tempt anyone, I guess, to try and
Yeah, so
if they're
that's
logged out, hide them.
um so you could just say and current page name is not client. Uh and then yeah, you can also like on the sign up page of the website or here you can just like disable this or like just hide this whole thing
Mhm.
so that people can't
Yep.
just come and sign up.
Yeah, because they're, I mean, nobody should be able to find it anyway, but I wouldn't be giving out that link. That's just for me. Only the count, only this page is, I'd ever give out a link to.
Yeah.
I think that's it, right? We're done.
Yeah.
So, in the amount of time we built this probably would have taken 5x if somebody built it from scratch. And using your template, we were able to build it in this one session.
Yeah. Well, I honestly think this would take, I mean, if you got an agency or something, let me just fix that link. It looks awful.
Create a
Um,
make it a button.
Once. Um, yeah, shall I make it a button or
What's a what's a good like haptic or
I can just put an icon in there, or I could put it in this little thing here, like in the where you got the edit and the delete button.
copy? Yeah, it's only for me. And find a icon that's represents copy.
Yeah. So let's see row icons. Um,
Yeah.
um, when icon do when. And we just need to make this wider. So it was 48, so maybe 72. And you got to make there's a spacer in the column just to make sure everything lines up.
That's professional.
Yeah, so I think like if you'd hired someone to make this, it would have taken them weeks. Uh,
Yeah, for sure.
Especially because it already has like so much stuff already built in. Need to fix the search box dark mode. Let's not mention the dark mode for now. Um, yeah, and it would have taken ages. I'm actually surprised how quick that
Hmm.
was.
Yeah. So the value of buying this boilerplate template is thousands of dollars, 100 hours saved. That's big. So buying this fast forwards you to building a SaaS like we've just done, weeks at a time and thousands of dollars, depending on what kind of developer you would hire or did it yourself. Thousands of dollars saved, weeks of time. Sounds valuable to me.
Yeah, someone said I should be charging like a thousand for it.
For the template, sure, because you can reuse it multiple times. And You're, I mean, it's literally a fast forward button. It's building a SaaS as quick as a bullet. Look what I just did there.
That was
Um,
that was my thinking
yeah,
behind the name.
I mean it's a
And not just one
perfect,
of
of
those slow bullets, one of the high speed ones, you know.
course. So we just built something that I would have to put three no code tools together, figure out all that automation, run it all through Zapier, make it cost more money, probably $25 a month each one of those. And in just how long we've been recording now? That amount of time, you've built a whole app.